Well, Francesco Keki is a professor of epidemiology and international health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. He joins me now from London. So the report that's been put together, I mean, first of all, when we report on events in Gaza, we often focus on the day-to-day impact that it's having on the people there. And when we talk about the deaths that are published, it's people who have been killed directly from the airstrikes and so on. But this report does highlight an aspect that is often forgotten in all of this, and that is the number of people who die indirectly from this war. Just talk us through some of that.
Well, we actually wanted to look into the future and project what that death toll might look like under three different scenarios, ranging from a best case, which is a ceasefire, to a worst case, which is a further escalation of the military operations. And yes, as you're rightly pointing out, while the main cause of death we think will continue to be trauma injuries, we're extremely worried about epidemics, and we project that that would probably be the second most important reason why people are dying above and beyond the rate at which they would have died in the absence of a war. And you also talked about non-communicable diseases, chronic diseases taking a huge toll. And lastly, I think I would probably underscore the importance of nutrition. We didn't analyze nutrition related deaths as such, but we actually projected to what extent the population might fall into conditions of a nutritional emergency, and how that might then impact infectious diseases and other health problems.
And one of the things you highlight in this report is this best case scenario where if for example a ceasefire were to take hold tomorrow, there would still be an indirect impact in terms of deaths and so on. Because it would take a long time to get the infrastructure and the hospitals up and running again. How challenging is that going to be? And I appreciate this is a little speculative, but how long roughly would it take to get things back to something resembling normal in Gaza?
I think that there would be some challenges that cannot be resolved straight away. Firstly, the population, and in particular children, need to recover some of their lost body weight. And that cannot happen very, very quickly. Secondly, it's difficult to see how the population would be able to move to more sanitary conditions, to less overcrowded conditions, given the proportion of houses that have simply been destroyed. Obviously, what would make a huge amount of difference, whether there is a ceasefire or not, is the ability of humanitarian actors to actually get in there with the right scale, with the right security, and be able to offer emergency services whilst the routine health system, if you like, is rehabilitated. And that would be a huge variable, I would think, in terms of how much can be done in a ceasefire scenario straight away.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the main headline then, what are you hoping people will take from this report?
I think one way to look at things is, at least according to our projections, is that if there is a ceasefire, that would actually lessen the likely projected death toll by something on the order of 60 to 70,000 lives. So if you actually look at the two extremes that we analyzed, the further escalation versus the ceasefire, the difference is very stark. So one way to look at the story is, well, even in the event of a ceasefire, continued mortality. But on the other hand, just how important it would be, how important a ceasefire would be in terms of bringing down those anticipated levels of mortality.
All right. Appreciate your time, Francesco Keki. Thanks very much for being